be nervous. Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. Hey, everybody. I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr. I'm supposed to point at my head when I say that. Damn. All right, everybody. Welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream. I am your host, the ever-professional, but not often showing it, Kurt Wuckert Jr., and it's always a pleasure to be here live on the intertubes with you. So please take your internet tube and send a question right through it into the troll box, because rather than my typical bring on some kind of extraordinary guest who is going to give us just deep, juicy, meaty insight into whatever crazy thing they're working on, my guest this week is you. I want to take your questions. I get a lot of people who like to send me questions in DMs. Some days I feel like I'm like SentBee's customer service team, or you know, whatever service is not working real well for the day. I get lots of DMs from people. What's going on? What's happening to whoever and whatever? And I have to remind people, I'm not really anybody's. I don't know. A lot of times I just simply do not know, because I'm not directly involved and I cannot help you. However, I do my best. I do try to connect dots for people and tell people where to reach out to get their problems solved. I'm not complaining. I actually kind of appreciate it. I think it means I'm doing my job in so much as I'm letting people know that I care. And the people that aren't sure where to go, they often come to me. So I am indeed doing my best. And I will do my best to answer your questions here live on the air. So please oh no, it's on this side. I'm in mirror vision. Fill the troll box with your questions so that I know what to say and how to say it. I think we can put the live comments actually as an overlay. So we're going to try that, unless it quickly becomes rated R. And then we can then nuke the live box. Hi, hello, Mr. Joey Two Guns, Mr. S Script, Smart Contract. Who is the person behind the S Script right now? It could be a lot of people. I know a few people over there that could be in control of that account. So thanks for watching live, everybody. Watching live is the thing that actually helps us the most. Like, subscribe, hit the alert bell, and also the comments. So after the show, if you could come back and comment, be like, hey, Kurt, you had a really nice shirt, or like your head looked particularly shiny on the show. Like those kinds of comments, they really help, actually. So it lets people know that I'm not just getting live engagement, but people make their way back. They come back like salmon to their birthplace to let me know that you liked something about the show, or you hated something about the show, as is often the case. Like Kurt is a terrible, scamming, what's a nice word I can use? I don't know. So Kurt, you're hideous, and we don't like you. You can say that too. That's just fine. I want to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors this week and most weeks are Rock Wallet. Rock Wallet, the creator of the money stablecoin, as well as the single most useful non-custodial wallet for Bitcoin, BTC, BCH, BSV, and the Ethereum and various Ethereum stablecoins, and a couple other things too. And they allow you to exchange interchangeably between those tokens using their inbuilt liquidity. Really good stuff. Rock Wallet, thank you so much for your support of the show, for the work that I do. It makes me feel very, very good. So thank you for that. Also, Otherworldly TCG, our longtime sponsor of the show, the comment of the day will receive Otherworldly cards. Did we even do that last week? I'm suddenly feeling like I did not have it. Oh, sorry. Just seeing your private DM, Mr. Producer. So yeah, no, that's a good idea. I appreciate it. So here's what's up. The Otherworldly folks, they will give you a deck of cards to the comment of the day. So whoever's got the best comment of the day in the troll box, you will get cards from Otherworldly TCG, which is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You can use those to do all kinds of things, like playing the game. But the Otherworldly TCG people are doing something really, really cool right now. You may have seen some of the teasers floating around. They are doing brainrotgames.com. That is brainrot, spelled the way it sounds, but games ends in a Z because, well, That's how you do the funny stuff now. So brainrotgames.com, check it out. Really, really cool stuff. I am one of the featured gameplay. You can see the Kurt avatar flying bald with banana on head, as is often the case. So Brainrot Games, which is also tied very closely to the otherworldly TCG folks, really, really good to have your support. I guess I don't know that I necessarily directly have Brainrot Games as support, but because they're a sister company of Otherworldly, who is very kind to sponsor the show, I'm just going to assume it. I'm going to deem it into existence. So thank you to all those people. You guys are the best. We're going to play an ad. As you queue up your questions, all of the delightful things that you have to say, or even the terrible things that you need to say to me, please put them in the box, and we will make our way through them. So, Mr. Producer, play the ad, and we will be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. So actually, Mr. Producer just let me know, Joey Two Guns, you need to go ahead and you need to send a DM over to the Real CoinGeek account, because you are actually owed some cards, I think. So just reach out. You were last week's winner, and I think we need to do that. So let's start bringing up some of these questions, Mr. Producer. I have highlighted a couple that I like. You have highlighted a couple that you like. Let's start right at them. Is the Gorilla Pool server still working as a solution for the Electrum SV and Terranode while using a recovery seed? I just realized, so my camera setup here is a little bit different, and I have a bar that runs right through my screen, which means you may see me dipping this way to get around the bar of my camera to fully read the sentence. So that's something I may need to work on. To answer your question, Mr. Lead Guitarist, yes, it is still working quite well. The Electrum server. So we may have actually moved it around. So little bit of an update on Gorilla Pool. So Gorilla Pool has been in a little bit of a flux, as everybody knows. The BSV ecosystem's not exactly making everybody like $1 million a week here. So we had to move some stuff around, and ultimately got our sysadmin on full time with Gorilla Pool. So as many of you may be aware, all of us have been working Gorilla Pool and some other thing. Like Gorilla Pool is like our passion project that we really love and we care about, and we've done it specifically for the community to have like a public pool that anybody can come hash with, and to give that opportunity to people that want to contribute to the chain in ways that are in and of themselves, rather than just having to say like, well, like, everything is happening if Calvin does it or something, whatever the meme is. We're trying to give people the opportunity to hash about it, or to do use our Jungle Bus tool set, use the one set tokens, and all this other stuff. One of those things is indeed the Electrum server, and we got Root, our full-time sysadmin, frankly one of the most important guys in Bitcoin. He is not thanked enough for how much he has done to frankly save Bitcoin again and again. Really one of the best guys. Really glad to have him as a business partner, and honestly, I just can't say enough good things about Root. As for, is the Electrum SV server up right this very moment? I am not actually entirely sure, because a bunch of stuff is being moved around and upgraded and whatever, but it's not. If it is down right now, and I don't think it is, it's probably up, but if it is down, it will be back up like within the day. So if you're checking it and it doesn't seem to be working, that would be why. But we have no intention to deprecate it or shut it down, or we will give lots and lots of notice if Electrum becomes an untenable thing. We'll give people probably like a 3-month window or something like that to say, hey, this just isn't going to work in this new paradigm or whatever. You're going to need to upgrade and do some other thing. But for the time being, especially the volumes the way they are, unless we're talking about hundreds of thousands of transactions a second and lots of UTXO calculation, that's all very easy, actually. So your typical BIP, what is it, BIP 39 seed phrases are still very easy to parse at the volumes that exist today, and Gorilla Pool will serve them up. And if it starts to become a problem, we will know with some lead time that they are becoming a problem. We will let you know so that we can come up with some better solution. So will Root come on your show? We should have Root on the show, actually. I have done interviews with him on other people's show. One of Brittany Bits, one of my favorite. I haven't talked to Brittany in a while. She's a lot of fun, but we did her show together once. We should have him on. He's a little bit of a private guy. Like, he's not exactly like chomping at the bit to get in front of the camera as a rule, but I could probably twist his arm and get him to come on and talk about some of the Gorilla Pool stuff. I guess part of the problem too is it would feel a little bit self-serving because he's my business partner and it's our company, and so it's a little bit like, I don't know, crossing the streams, which you're not supposed to do unless you're trying to kill the Marshmallow Man, I think. So let's take another one, and please keep the questions coming so that I don't have to talk about too much of my own nonsense. Is there a customer who uses credit card and it settles into cash for taxes, bills, and BSV yet? Something close. I'm not exactly sure. So, okay. This seems like a basic payment rails question. So like a BitPay analog. So BitPay, for example, uses like BTC and BCH. I haven't looked at them in a lot of years. They might offer stable coins and a bunch of other. I wouldn't be shocked if they offered like USDC and Tether payments or whatever as well. But as far as I know, there is not a credit card solution that works in a BSV paradigm. However, if you watch last week's show, we had cleaner Thor Bjornsson on the show, and he is the CEO of Orange Gateway, which is quite a cool company. And that is something that he would really, really like to offer to the BSV economy. So people that are holding on to their BSV and would like to be able to spend directly from like a Visa or a MasterCard in that situation, that would be a good thing. So that's hopefully coming soon, but that would probably require you supporting Orange Gateway and you know, do the buys and sells over there, because he's working real hard just to support BSV because he cares about BSV. So it's a good thing. So please support Orange Gateway, and then Orange Gateway can come up with more products to help you. This is how we create a recursive economy here. Any update on the court case against Binance in the UK, and what is your opinion on the loss of chance case? You're going to need to give me a little more clarity on what the loss of chance case is. The update on the court case of Binance in the UK is the, what do they call it? A CPA. It's essentially a class action suit is what it would be called in the US. I forget what the acronym stands for in the UK. I have a little bit of a relationship with those guys in that I advise them on like the blockchain culture and stuff aspect of it. So I'm not really allowed to talk about anything that isn't public on that case. However, if you pay attention, there was a hearing about a week ago. It was something like 10 days ago. And the update was on, there was a partial judgment about one part of the thing. Something was essentially stricken out about the nature of the damages. And the damage number was a huge number that it seemed like the judge kind of disagreed with. It was being argued that, like, well, damages are what they are, and they were just sort of arguing on that one point. But the case has multiple pillars. The other pillars of the case are still very much going to trial in the near future. The date has not been set, so I don't know when that'll happen because nobody does. And but generally, case moving forward, the premise of the case is that UK BSV holders were unjustly put in a position and negatively impacted by the predatory delistings that occurred by Binance and various other exchanges. And so there is a class action suit that is occurring in the UK. But moving forward, please give me more specifics on the loss of chance case. Is that related to this? It might be being called that as a colloquialism that I have not heard myself, but please clarify and I'd be happy to answer. Let's take another one. Is Calvin Ayre still backing BSV or not? Rumors have it he is leaving the chain off to die. He's certainly not leaving the chain off to die. So as far as like Calvin's invested in Tal and Enchain and all these other things, which are still actively functioning companies, and they are working to grow. What I don't know is anything like deep and secret, like what's the special sauce, what's the 6-month plan. Like I don't know. So Calvin is certainly not bringing me into a Zoom call to ask my opinion on like, hey, what should the next steps be here with BSV. But I do get a little bit of communication here and there that I hear mostly through the grapevine, because I'm a contractor basically, so it's not really even in my purview to know what's going on up the chain, as it were. But no, he's certainly not leaving. In fact, the last time I spoke to Calvin was a little more like personal. And I mean, he's the thing about Calvin that people don't realize is that Calvin is like, he reminds me of the kind of people that you'd meet at a meetup when you get him talking about Bitcoin. So if you talk to him about business or other things, like he turns into Calvin the businessman, or Calvin the gaming industry expert, or there's Calvin's accomplished a lot in his life, and he has a lot of industry knowledge. But when you get talking to him about Bitcoin, he gets this like flipped switch that reminds me just how like normal of a human he is in the way that he interfaces with Bitcoin. Like he thinks Bitcoin is interesting for the same reason people think Bitcoin is interesting. Like, oh, cool, it can do this and it can do that, and in theory it can do this. And wouldn't it be really cool if somebody would make it do that? And like he turns into the same kind of person that you would meet at a meetup, who just is like, he's pumped and he thinks it's cool. And that has not changed about Calvin. Whereas if it felt like he was making an exit or something, I'd feel like the last time we spoke, maybe he'd be talking a little bit more about whatever other thing that he's excited about. But he's excited about Bitcoin. He's excited about BSV. And so that's all I got. I don't know what I don't know, because I'm just not like inner circle. I think people think I'm, inner circle on the Death Star or something, but it's not quite how it goes, unfortunately. So, or maybe fortunately, what do I know? But from everything I've seen, like I've seen no indication that there is like an exit or something occurring. So that's not something I'm worried about. Next one, please. Do you think USDC will still be here when Revelation comes? Are we talking about like the rapture and like premillennial, like the Antichrist and all this stuff? Revelation. So USDC is a really interesting tool because on the one hand, it's backed by Circle Pay, which is a conglomeration of Coinbase and Goldman Sachs, and there's probably other counterparties involved as well. But when you hear those names like Coinbase and Goldman Sachs, it's supposed to imbue like extra trust. Oh, these people are professionals. My coins must be safe. But what we know about both of those companies is that they are not impenetrable entities of trust. Goldman's got its own history, and Coinbase has plenty of history itself. And Coinbase actually just recently, like in the last week or so, had to admit that because they hired third world customer service and gave them semi-critical customer KYC information, that hackers have now bought, not stole, but bought from third world customer service agencies that like, hey, so criminals now have your account balance and your home address and maybe photos of your IDs, some of these things. Like, oh, cool. So people are going to start getting their fingers cut off if they have too much money in Coinbase. So that's great. USDC. So on the one hand, it's probably the most trusted. I mean, maybe Tether should be the most trusted because they are, they've gone the longest without having a massive negative liquidity event. Although we know for a fact that they have been convicted of fraud for their illegal accounting practices per the New York Attorney General's office. But USDC, on the other hand, has this trust built into them because of their relationship with Coinbase and Goldman and their attestation model and blah, 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 blah. So all that to say that fiat tokens, stablecoins are just one layer above your fiat currency. And so if you already don't like fiat currency for the reasons lots of people don't like fiat currency, in that it requires a lot of trust and, inflation problems and predatory fractional reserve lending games and blah, 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 blah. Stablecoins have those problems in a bigger way, frankly, or they can have them in a bigger way. And so I don't know. they're a critical tool for business. They work really, really well for lots of things. Mostly people really like to do unit of account in fiat terms because it's just how we're all trained. It just makes sense to us. It feels intrinsic because we were raised with it. And so USDC probably will be around for a long time, but you might wake up on a Tuesday and it's just not there anymore. So all of that to say, it's a big maybe, and I don't really have a good way to give you a better answer than a big maybe. And I hate that, which makes me say, do your own research and, hedge your bets when it comes to stablecoins with something like money and other, I don't know, just sucks. The whole thing is very unfortunate. Is BTC starting to realize the digital gold narrative is failing? I think for some people, probably. I think if you got into Bitcoin, like it is possible for you to have gotten into Bitcoin in the last, 5 or 6 years now, and be, well, not underwater because we're near all-time highs right now, but within the last couple of months, for you to have been like in this thing that's supposed to, like it makes everybody rich. I tweeted about this or posted the other day about this, that if you got into Bitcoin in 2012 and got out in 2017, you were able to make like 1,500 times your money. 1,500 times your money, okay? But for Bitcoin to do enough, BTC, let's just talk about BTC. So if you're Michael Saylor and you're spending billions of other people's money on buying BTC for your treasury, and now you're Jack Mallers or now you're whoever else trying to do the same thing, you would need to absorb more than the global market cap of gold to make a 10x move. So to make 10 times your money, okay, 10x, just 10, which is 10 is not nothing, but it's like if you put $1,000 into Bitcoin, if you want to have $10,000, you need to absorb and or replace the global market cap of gold. That's like 15 or 16 trillion dollars in market cap, okay? To make a 10x move. Now that's in stark contrast to all the other things that you could conceivably make 10x on. And I would argue there's lots of things that you can make 10x on faster and easier than on BTC. And the reason is very simple. It's liquidity. There's like $2 trillion of liquidity all kind of jammed up into BTC right now. And you need to pump those numbers up, but there's just not that much money in the whole world that is that interested in BTC. Now, could it happen over the next 30 years? Like, sure, like anything is possible. Michael Saylor's an older gentleman. He's probably in his mid 50s at this point, meaning he's likely to retire at some point in the next decade. And his life expectancy is maybe 20 years right now. And so will Michael Saylor see a 10 or a 20x move before he leaves this mortal coil? I don't like his odds. And I don't like his odds because we're talking about the kind of money that has never spilled from one direction to another direction, literally ever. Like there has not ever been that much money that has changed from all kinds of markets and into some other market. That's on top of the fact that BTC has already been the greatest performing asset of the last 15 years and the greatest performing asset of all time. So if you just zoom out and say, okay, look at all the opportunities in the global economy. If I want to catch something that is on its way up, should I start with something that maybe people haven't heard about? Or should I buy the thing that has already gone up more than anything else has ever gone up and has already absorbed $2 trillion worth of market cap and would need to absorb another 13 to 20 trillion dollars in market cap to make a 10x move? Like, to me, the math on that is absolutely bonkers insane. Caveat, now I know a lot of the people here are BSV people. BSV is $35. So if BSV goes to $350, you've made a 10x move. That's not even the all-time high on BSV. BSV has done $350 before. Okay. And that would only cost, if I recall, my math was something between 3 and 5. I think it was $4 billion is what I figured. And $4 billion could come from basically anywhere. I mean, that would be the kind of money that a small venture fund or a small ETF, if they were like, hey, we should just launch like a BSV thing, they would buy $4 billion of it at a clip. No big deal, right? So this is not investment advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell anything. I'm just saying that if you just look at the math, there's lots of other things that you get a 10x out of a lot easier than BTC the way I see it. Now, of course, in a decade or something, this whole bit that I have just done is going to be cut up, and you're going to have like virgin neckbeards like laughing in each other's faces. He's so stupid. Can you believe this is what he said? It's going to be great. So, yeah, that's my answer. So, digital gold narrative, don't love it. Next one, please. Looking back at your long tenure and experience in Bitcoin, especially with big block Bitcoin, what has the BSV community taught you, and how have you grown as a result of this community? Wow. Okay. Deep question. Actually, more than anything, I have shrunk being in the BSV community. And you might say, like, Kurt started fat and he's gotten a lot thinner as the price of BSV has underperformed everybody. It's not because I'm not eating well. So I think there's a few things. I think one of the main ones is, and I've written about this recently, and I've written about it for quite a long time actually, but it becomes more clear over time, is that we really don't have a hero out there, right? Like there's not some magic person, even if that person is Satoshi Nakamoto, that's just going to show up and save us all, right? So many people have like weird savior complexes, and I see this in people that like really like sports, or they really like Hollywood entertainment. You could argue this is how people are that like really like to go to church. They just really love their pastor, these kind of things. Like lots and lots of people have a major hero complex. You see a lot of hero complex in the politics space. Like you get the Trump people who are just like, I'm gonna wear the hat. Like people are gonna know, and like that's all. It's people looking for an identity that is based on mirroring somebody else's identity. And I think that's really problematic. It's something I've really, really disliked for basically my whole life. This is why I don't like sports. I don't like politics. I don't like these things, because it really comes down to like a weird confluence of identity politics and like this sort of hero manifestation thing that I just really don't like. It makes me very uncomfortable. And I see the same thing with Satoshi Nakamoto. And for big blockers in particular, they kind of have this like, Satoshi's this god figure. And when I think about it, I think about what Ian Grigg said about Satoshi. And the way that he talked about Satoshi is like, he's kind of disappointing, guys. Like he's human, right? He is a human being who's got all the problems that human beings have. And that's going to be disappointing, because we want Satoshi to be a hero, just like people want any big economist. Especially like when you're basing your worldview on a concept, you need to base it on the more important things. And really, it's about what you can do with things. And so I always try to bring it back to, what can you do to change the world? So one of my biggest criticisms, I'm like an Austrian economics guy. I love Mises and Rothbard and Hayek and Menger, and like these people, like you read this stuff and it's like, wow, I wish I could live in a world like that. I wish I could live in Galt Gulch. We could turn the whole world into this Atlas Shrugged situation. Everybody could be Henry Reardon. You could all, but like, I want to live in this world where like we build giant statues, we do wonderful things. And like, I look at libertarians and I say like, man, I just don't see a lot of people read Atlas Shrugged and like they live in their mom's basement into their 30s and don't really accomplish much. Like they're weird internet incels. It's kind of my big criticism of the BTC culture in general, is that libertarian ideas are great. They say they look like, the buff guy, and hey, we're ready to rock and roll. But in practice, it's like, guys, what have you accomplished? Meanwhile, you get all these like cruddy, backstabby, whatevers that are actually ruling the whole world. And I feel the same way about Bitcoin, as you get these people who are like, yeah, it's perfect money, man. It's the honey badger. It's the alpha male. It's the predator. And it ultimately is just not doing that much. And so the thing that it's taught me, and the biggest lesson that it taught me, and coming back to me talking about like losing weight, getting in better shape, and I have decided that in all these things that I tell, I do not want to be one of these people who's like, yeah, man, get out there and lift weights and I'm overweight. Or, hey, learn how to fight and I don't know how to fight. Or, hey, go start a business and I'm not running a business myself. Or any other thing, like talking about economics or politics or religion. So it's like, you know what? Bitcoin, big block Bitcoin in specific, but what all of this has taught me is that if I'm going to be on the air and I'm going to talk about anything, I need to be a good father and a good husband and a good member of my church and a good member of my community and a good member at my gym and ultimately a good Bitcoiner. But really what it comes down to is I need to be a good man. And if I can't be a good man, I really should shut my mouth. And that's been my ethos. That's been the biggest lesson for me. And it's a big reason why I end every show by reminding you to be good to each other. So Brett, thank you for the question. I hope that answers it as much as possible. Next one. When Jamify, it's funny, we were just talking about that today. Jamify is one of those things on the roadmap, and I can't say anything else about it. However, I had a very interesting conversation that I actually need to talk to Luke about. I haven't even talked to him about it yet, other than like, hey, we need to talk about somebody who's got a really cool idea that might benefit really nicely from Jamify and be pretty cool. So I would love to see that. Let's keep them going. I'm curious at how many locations you have up and running for Gorilla Pool and how many you have on the roadmap. So it depends. It depends what you mean by location. So our primary location is in Iowa. It's on the Mississippi River. We use hydroelectric power and grid tie and have a really good relationship there that we are excited about and excited to grow. We have capacity to grow there. The only reason that we have not grown exclusively there is simply for having geographical like diversification, like in case lightning strikes the power in Iowa and then we have a problem. So we have that. We have a spot in Quebec. And then we have a third location a little bit further north that I'm not going to mention for reasons of security. But those are our primary hashing locations. Then we have physical node locations in Texas, Florida, and Michigan. And then we also have cloud fallback for some of our other node infrastructure. And so that's, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 locations, depending on how you treat like what a location is as far as the business is concerned. But we'd love to expand. But really it's about the opportunities for like where it makes sense, why it makes sense, because hashing is not particularly profitable in and of itself. It becomes, well, here, Timo asking for mining, how feasible would it be to set up a solar generated mining farm? Not very feasible. Solar power is not particularly efficient, and so it doesn't generate nearly as much power as you might presume it would. And then relative to the cost, it just doesn't really make sense from an ROI standpoint. It makes a lot more sense to do lots of other things first. Trapped gas, even industrial grade grid tie power is typically cheaper, has a faster ROI. Same thing with like even capturing things like methane from a garbage dump and some of these other things like that can be done effectively. And the reason that it's that much more effective is because not only is it the power that you're generating and that you can mine with, but you also get the opportunity to benefit from things like carbon credits and like green energy, not credits, but like grants and things like that too. So there's lots of ways to make extra profits based on the decisions you make. And some of that stuff really sucks. I hate when things are like, oh, there's a subsidy, so we're going to do this thing we wouldn't otherwise do because of the subsidy. But in a practical sense, like, hey, it's business and you have to make the decision you make for the sake of your business, which a lot of people criticize me for. A lot of people are like, Kurt's mining BTC, or he's, like all these other things. And like, I have failed the purity test if I receive a carbon credit. And like, sorry. What is Overnode? And so, you know what? I don't know what Overnode is right now. It is numbers on a screen from a guy that I really like, Mr. Beard Papa, who I would love to have on the show when he's ready to explain Overnode. But for me, it sounds like a villain from a B movie. Like the aliens are invading and like Overnode is in charge. Like you will all bow to Overnode. Maybe it is just a meme. I don't know. When BTC this is a good question. When BTC crashes, where will all that hash power go? That's funny. So there is so much SHA-256 hash power in the world that it is not profitable. Get this, and think about this real hard. Think about all the, so I've been talking about like trillions of dollars in market cap tied up in BTC, the broader Bitcoin ecosystem, and lots of these other things. It's not profitable to mine. And the reason it's not profitable to mine is because all of these companies are making money on all these. So what I was just talking about, like carbon credits and some of these other things. There's also like stock. There's a lot of stock games. So a lot of these companies, if you look at like Marathon and Clean Spark and HUD 8 and Riot and some of these companies, like what do they do? How do they actually make money? If you look at their quarterly reports, lots of them are doing the carbon credit thing that I was talking about. Or they're doing curtailment agreements, like essentially they're selling power back to the company as part of a, like they're part of the grid, like they're and giving an important service. Not a criticism per se, but it's also it creates a weird economic balance in the Bitcoin ecosystem, because Bitcoin is designed that when it is unprofitable to mine, you go away, you fail, and then the hash power goes down, difficulty goes down, and then everybody's profitable again. And it hasn't been profitable for years at this point. And in fact, look at the profitability trend in Bitcoin mining. You can go to like BitInfo charts and look at what's profitability. And it's like down for like 6 or 7 years straight now. And the reason is the over-financialization of BTC, the severe over-financialization of things like kind of the games like Michael Saylor is playing. So it's like, all right, we're going to take our stock and it's going to be a convertible note. We're going to sell to this guy and we're going to buy more Bitcoin and it's going to go up forever. And so they're playing very similar sort of financial engineering games with their own stock and their own debt and all these things. And then they're using it to buy more Bitcoin instead of, reinvesting in more hash power and some of these other things. But like, it's not profitable because difficulty is absurdly arbitrarily high. And it's completely outpaced the price of even the collective of all Bitcoin forks and all these other things. And so that hash power, so SHA-256 hash power, if BTC were to like drop by 90%, it would, they would have to shut it off. But they're making so much money on all these other things that are related to them just consuming hash power for no reason that they're in this very weird catch-22. Frankly, a lot of them just go bankrupt. The pivot, and I think I saw, Carl over here. Carl says likely AI. Well, he's absolutely right. I guarantee it, and I've seen it on a couple other quarterly reports. This isn't even that interesting, but if you read quarterly reports of publicly traded mining companies like this cool guy, then you're aware that one of the exit strategies that lots of them are looking at, they're like, well, this Bitcoin thing isn't really as profitable as we want it to be, but we got these giant data centers with lots and lots of power coming in. Yeah, they're hoping OpenAI or XAI or one of these other companies, maybe the Chinese, show up and say, hey, how's a $5 billion check sound? You throw all this Bitcoin stuff in the trash and you run GPUs for us to, sell compute essentially for AI computation. Really good pivot for that kind of company. Similar kind of power demands and these kind of things. Business model is similar enough. Like you wouldn't even need to have that big of a shakeup. They would just be running probably GPUs instead of those specific ASICs, or maybe there will be AI focused ASICs in the near future and whatever. So we'll see. Mr. Belinsky, since the price of BTC doing another 10x is highly unlikely, it's only a matter of time until it implodes, right? I don't know exactly that. Like, for all the reasons that I've said, like when you create a derivative system where you kind of just keep doing paper Bitcoin on top of paper Bitcoin on top of other debt, and then you're sending out loans, and you're doing all these other things using the paper. It's like silver, right? Silver has been in this situation for like 30 or 40 years where it's like, just keep printing more paper silver. We're going to keep the price down because we're doing it like it's game players. It's people endlessly playing the kind of games that really piss people off about banks and traders and Wall Street in general and these derivative guys and all this stuff. Like CBOE and CME used to be really hated for their manipulation of metals markets and stuff. And it's like, wouldn't you know it, they're one of the earliest investors in companies like Blockstream, because like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if paper Bitcoin derivatives were like a really useful thing and people could have ETFs and all this stuff? And then like the Bitcoin people who used to be revolutionaries against this kind of system are like, yeah, CME is good. And so are the companies they invest in, like Blockstream. And it's like, oh, you're schizophrenic or evil? Like, which one? And maybe it's both. So I don't know. Collapse, hard to say. Just like a lot of things, like the US dollar, people have been saying the US dollar should collapse since like the late 1970s. You can go find Murray Rothbard and some of these guys who are like, here's why the US is going to crash instantly. It's the same. I was a Ron Paul guy for a lot of the last like 15 years of my life, saying the same thing. Like, hey man, if we don't get back to sound money and sound governance, and like, can we audit the Federal Reserve? Can we audit Fort Knox? And they're just kind of like, even Trump was talking Fort Knox like what, a month ago? Like, yeah, we're gonna get in there. Elon, we're gonna send Elon in. He's gonna do it live on. Like, we're not actually gonna. Everything's probably fine. We're not gonna do that. You're not getting the Epstein papers. You're not getting any of this stuff. Like, everything's fine. Keep working, and maybe we're raising taxes. So it's pretty rough, frankly. What are you bullish about with BSV? Alex Moon, I'm bullish about you, brother. I miss you. So Alex, for those who don't know, Alex is like the first guy I worked with when I had like day one at CoinGeek. Alex Moon was the guy who's like, I'm going to show this kid the ropes a little bit. Like, here's how things work around here. He ended up becoming the producer of my show. We've had a long and mostly fruitful relationship. And I haven't gotten to work with him much for the last year, which is like a big bummer. So Alex, I miss you, buddy. But I am bullish on your big ideas. I do hear through the grapevine, like, here's what Alex Moon is doing. And it's always good stuff. So, no, I'm kidding. That is not my answer though. I am bullish about BSV on a few fronts. There are people, like when I went to the hackathon in Austin, it's about, 5 or 6 weeks ago now. And I expected a few teams, kind of the usual suspects. Like, it's probably going to be 3 to 5 teams. Everybody's going to do whatever. And, it'll be a good time, but it'll be inside baseball and whatever. We'll eat some street food tacos and whatever. And what ended up happening is like 35 people showed up. There was like, 14 or 15 teams. And all these people were pumped. Like, half the group were people that had never heard of BSV before, before like a week before the hackathon. And they're looking at it and they're like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I've worked in Ethereum. I didn't know you could do that. Like, oh, that's like, they look at the tooling, they look at all this other stuff, and they're just like, they're blown away, including a couple guys who had no blockchain experience. They were just full stack developers and had never really looked at blockchain at all. And they're like, wow, this is really cool. Like, my packets can be monetized. Like, they see it and they get it and they get pumped. And it's like, man, we just got to show more people why this is interesting technology, because these are not people. These are people that, like, we could have had an argument. These are the kind of people I frankly would have typically argued with on Twitter, who were like, I don't know, isn't that a scam? Doesn't that not work? Isn't this all whatever? But no, they looked at it and they saw it and they were genuinely impressed. Again, and it reminded me why I do this. And it's really, we have a very interesting value proposition. And then that value proposition allows us to change the world in ways that really matter. And so for me, it's always been about the stealth startup. The thing that I'm bullish about are the people who look at a problem in healthcare, or a problem with global remittance, or a problem with data integrity, or a problem with, some other thing that could be made a lot more valuable if it was tokenized. And then they take that opportunity to, make a prospectus, try to raise money, try to build their MVP, do all these. It's the entrepreneurial cycle. That's the thing that gets me pumped. I'm also super pumped about some of the stuff we're working on inside of Gorilla Pool. We've got a couple of things that are like this close, and if we could just get them out, I think they would be really, really game changers for a lot of people. I can't talk about them, unfortunately, because they're sort of stealthy for us, but it's that kind of thing. It's the like, man, we're just one killer app away from changing the world. So it's that's it. Next one, please. We got about 15 minutes left. Let's take some doozies. I'm surprised nobody wants to ask me any real hard questions. Is Coinbase X402 a threat to BSV? Sounds very much like BSV technology. So it's interesting. Immediately when I saw it, I was like, the first guy I ever heard talk about this was Craig Wright. And, he talked about it, gosh, it's got to be 4 or 5 years ago now at one of these old CoinGeek conferences, and talking about how the internet was built natively to have a payment protocol built into it that allowed people to pay for information before it was unlocked. And you can talk to like your gray hair internet engineers. You got kind of guys that were like building the internet in the 90s, and they would all know what this is. But after like the World Wide Web era in the 2000s and became, what it is, Web 2.0 stuff, they don't even know. They're not sure what's being talked about. And so I have to believe that the Coinbase people either heard about, or somebody sent it, or somebody watched the event or whatever and was like, okay, this Satoshi, scammer guy, he may be a liar and a cheat and blah 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 blah, but this idea, this idea is incredible. I don't see it as a threat to BSV, and frankly, I hope they build the damn thing on Polygon or Ethereum or whatever else. And here's why. No matter what blockchain they use, if it wins, it loses, because on day one, it'll be 30 or 40 cents a transaction because like, hey, cool, there's not that much traffic. And doesn't this solve this novel problem? But if it becomes successful and like 1 million people a day decide they want to use it, you're going to be talking 30, 40, 50, 300, 400, $500 per transaction fees that make the whole thing like, why does our blockchain suck? And when you get people to ask the question, why does our blockchain suck? Then all of a sudden you can claw back into that conversation about like, hey guys, we built the one that actually works. And that's really helpful. Error 405. My team has solved it. What do you think it will take for the world to accept that? Christopher, I love you, man. You are A, a really good marketer, and B, you've got a lot of experience that makes it difficult to say like, he's just a really good marketer. So no, it's I'd be curious to hear for everybody who knows, Christopher has a project that he has shilled here in the troll box in the past. Is it Gaju? I always screw this up. Gaju Moro, I think it's Gaju for short, but the QPQ project, basically a scalable blockchain that is sort of coming soon, that I've gotten to take a 30,000 foot look at, and I generally like the pamphlet version. Gaju Moro, thank you, sir. And yeah, so I have not given it an audit. I haven't seen like a deep protocol spec on it, but I've been asked to give some feedback, and I may give that feedback. In fact, we may have Christopher and or his business partner on in the near future to discuss it, because I think any research going into scalable blockchains is good stuff. So stay tuned. Christopher, you're welcome anytime. What is the benefit of Money Token at this point? So Money Token being a stable coin, for anybody that doesn't know, it is a BSV native stablecoin. It also works on Ethereum, but you got to pay the Ethereum fees for it to work. The cool thing, so it does a couple of novel things. It is the only stablecoin, as far as I'm aware, that does not have a gas fee. So you do not need any BSV in order to transact in money, which means you can go to somebody and say, hey, download Money Wallet. They can download Money Wallet. You can send them a single penny. And then they can take that penny, they can break it into sub-cent transactions and send a sub-penny around to anybody else, again, without having any BSV. You don't need the BSV to use the Money Token. So that immediately takes the friction of gas and all this other stuff away. So if I were to send somebody $1 using Tether or USDC or whatever else on ETH or Polygon or Tron or whatever else, I would also need to send them ETH or what is it? POL token for Polygon and Tron, TRX for Tron. And so that's another thing. It's like, okay, well, you need to have this for gas, for your coin, for your dollar, but it's not really $1, and it's also 30 cents to transact, and it's just all this other stuff, right? So there's a bit of a complexity issue with Ethereum-based tokens that Money just simply doesn't have. The other thing, and really what I see as the real benefit, is that when you can start to build real financial instruments on BSV, so like lending tools, basically your basic financial set. So what are the things that you can financialize? And they can be analogs, like if you look at like the Aave protocol on Ethereum or some of these other things that are like, yeah, there's staking and lending and some of these other things. Like we couldn't do that on BSV because we didn't have a BSV native stablecoin. Therefore, we didn't have a BSV native DEX and all these other problems, right? Now, those things can be built. Like you can build a decentralized exchange on BSV. You can build a lending platform on BSV. There's lots of things that it enables from a financial tools standpoint. And I think that's really crucial. But then it's also just simple payments. Like you can go to your local coffee shop and say, hey, do you want to accept like blockchain stable coins, like as low as a penny, and it's free to use, and you don't have any other technology? Just download Money Wallet. I'll pay you in money. You want me to pay you in money? Cool. Pay you in money. Like it's done. It's very, very simple. It allows people to go be a blockchain evangelist again, like the good old days. Hi, Kurt. What advice would you give to someone who is a computer science student and interested in getting involved in this space and went through the standard Java path? Get familiar with onesatordinals.com, bitcoinschema.org, script.io. Hi to Yusuf. Yusuf said it was him on the script account. And then Jungle Bus, the Jungle Bus tool from Gorilla Pool. If you can understand those four things, you can program any tokenized asset. You can tokenize open social protocol, basically absolute complete Web3. You can use Bitcoin SV as a database, allowing you like file access, serving pages, lots of other things. So you can build your entire application in, on, and above and using BSV in every regard if you get good at those four tools. So Jungle Bus, onesatordinals.com, bitcoinschema.org, and script.io for smart contracts, and you're ready to rock and roll. So start down that path and see if it makes sense for you. Let's do another one. We've got, wow, these shows go so fast. I'm always a little bit worried I'm not going to be able to talk for an hour, and then I'm like, I could go too. Like there's so many people I want to talk about. Let's see. Whatever happened to the UFC metrics app and Bitcoin phone app devs were working on? Combat IQ. I don't know. I don't know what has happened with Combat IQ because I haven't seen an update from them in a while. I know they were, they made an announcement, like they actually got brought into the UFC 6 months ago or something like that to do like a beta test. And what it was going to do is essentially break down the moves that are occurring as they're happening and like create a catalog and, basically create like a digital combatives, like metrics based, an official partner with the UFC, like a metrics based breakdown of the most effective way to fight, which is really cool. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I'm a former mixed martial arts coach myself. Big fan. I love all this stuff. Combat IQ is one of my major things. I love to coach a bunch of my white belts. Actually, if any of my white belts are watching, I coached last Sunday at the IBJJF Miami Open. Congratulations to my white belts who all did a very good job. I had no guys whose jiu-jitsu I was like, I wish they would do better. So I'm very proud to also be an active competition coach. Nobody. What's up? Terranode update. I have to think really hard. What am I allowed to say? What am I not allowed to say? So reason, Gorilla Pool is a beta testing partner of Terranode. So I get lots of updates that are not public. We just pulled down the most recent update on Terranode just late last week. And then we are actively working with the team. I keep telling everybody, I think it's stable. I may or may not be mining blocks with it right now. I will not say I will not say that, whether that has or hasn't happened. In my opinion, I think it's more than ready to do it. It is incumbent on a good developer and good security people to go through all the rigmarole of making sure that the thing is totally secure before it becomes fully public. I am much more cavalier. I would love to see it released, and I would love to have community contribution on here's how to make it better. I think, and this is just purely my speculation, that what they don't want is to release the thing in public and it becomes, within 48 hours, here's Gregory Maxwell's whole article about all the reasons why the good ideas were just stolen from Greg and all the bad ideas were things that you would have been warned about if you would have read Greg's writings from the last 12 years about Bitcoin. And I think they just don't want to deal with like what would almost certainly be a public shaming campaign from the people whose job it is to publicly shame big blockers. And then ultimately they would also get like, 7 or 8 other people in public who are pro BSV and actually know how such systems work that would probably also give valuable feedback. But those people, like they can already have that conversation like I said, most of those people work right now at either Gorilla Pool or Tal and are actively contributing to the system now. And so there's not a great reason to make it public, because it really just like 95% of what it invites is unnecessary scrutiny. But I am a firm believer in the necessity to open source, and so is Siggy, the lead developer. And so I'm not worried about it. I think it's just a conversation that needs to be pushed forward. So, Kurt, please send me info on how I can get some hash power through Gorilla Pool. Need to get some BSV. Struggling for exchanges in the UK. Yes, indeed, I will happily hit you up. We do offer, if you just want to buy an ASIC and have it hosted at Gorilla Pool, you just pay your electric bill and you get the coins. So, could there one day be a merger of BTC and BSV? Sort of, but not in like they become one network directly. That's not exactly how it works. So what you could do is you could run a BTC node in BSV, like in script. So BSV, if you think of BSV as a general purpose computer, think about installing a BTC node on that computer on Bitcoin, on BSV. And then you allow it to be constantly listening for new coins, new transactions, new UTXOs, doing all these calculations, doing all this stuff. At Gorilla Pool, we've done a little bit of this. So running like a BTC node and an ordinals node and some of these things, like looking for like the right way to do such a thing, because I do think that absorption of the BTC economy is actually a really cool idea. If you look at what people have done with BTC, one of the most interesting things that has ever happened with BTC is the concept of wrapped BTC on like something like Ethereum, and then now you can use that as a piece of liquidity on your other system. And I think it's a really cool thing. A lot of purists hate this stuff. People make videos about me talking about BTC as if it's kind of nonsense and whatever, but like that's a totally feasible thing that could be done. So, Tony R, man, I'm saying, like, ask me something new. I would love to hear your question, Tony. So yeah, let's take a little breather here. The show is that true? BTC can scale on yes, it is true. So let's do the comment of the day. Let's run the little clip here. We're going to post the comment of the day, and I'm going to come back, maybe take another question or two, and then we will wrap the show. Do the comment. Reed McGrew, you win, sir. Please reach out to the Real CoinGeek account on X to receive your cards from Otherworldly TCG. Tony, you still haven't asked a question. If you got a good question, you could ask it. You've got maybe 1 minute before we're out. We should host these AMA a little more regularly. What say ye, Kurt? What say ye, chat? I'd be happy to. Maybe we even do. I'm gonna give myself more work than I need. We could do like a Thursday Ask Me Anything, and then Tuesday is the guest show or something like that. Let's work on it. We could do something like that. I would love to do that. When can we stop talking about Craig? Hooligan. No, I agree. The cultists need to give it a rest and focus on the tech. I agree completely. Craig is someone who I both like and respect, both professionally and personally, and also have my own criticisms of. We do not agree on everything. We have argued about any number of things, both in public and private, while still being respectful to one another. And Craig is just a person. And like every other person, there's lots of good stuff, and there's lots of other baggage, like every other human being walking around with anxiety and problems and all this other stuff. But Craig is a very interesting inventor. He's both of those things. And just a frankly curious character, right? Like Craig is an interesting person, which is why he's got a lot of people that like to talk about him. But ultimately, it is not that valuable to just sit and have a focus on any one person, right? So, Hooligan, thanks for bringing it up. Yes, the point is that there is a technology out there that allows you to be a global entrepreneur at the drop of a hat, and you just want to talk about this other guy, and that's a little, don't love it. So, Anyways, everybody, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to Mr. Producer for Mr. Producing the show. Per usual, it has been a delight. Tony, Tony R, I'm not trying to be a critic, but you're kind of criticizing me, man. Also sort of criticizing the audience, which is fine. I get it. You can go ahead and save your question for next time. But yeah, let's figure out a time to do other AMAs because I like doing them. They are fun. Yeah, so that's it. I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr., everybody. This has been the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream, live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Almost always live from South Florida, except for when there's something else to do. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Really, it means the world. And these AMAs are my favorite because I really do like to interact with my audience. The reason I do them live is I like to get the instant feedback loop. It helps me understand what we're doing well and what we can improve on. And also, and I think it's fun watching people's stories go by when they start to argue or tell other stories or whatever else. So it's good stuff. Like, subscribe, hit the alert bell. Please comment after the show ends. It really helps if you comment. Let the world know how you feel and how we could do better or worse or everything else. And yeah, good stuff, everybody. Be good to each other. And I will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Goodbye. This is it. I'm done. The show's over. Just end it. Just end it.